we're rolling.
All right, welcome back to the Two Dudes Talking Motorcycle podcast. My name is Mitch.
And I'm Gleb. And you can follow me on Instagram at GlebLapham.
And I am Meech to the Beach on Instagram. Also on Instagram, we have the Two Dudes Talking Motorcycle podcast, which is at tdtmotorcycles.
And
No, you go for it.
And you're always welcome to email us at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com. We always love hearing your comments and your feedback and suggestions for future topics, but mainly we just love hearing about your rides and motorcycles, and we're more than happy to talk motorcycles with you.
Yeah, we love it.
You know what else is great about riding a motorcycle? The different kinds of gear you can get for a motorcycle.
Yeah, that's right.
And the reason I'm saying that is because we are now Revzilla affiliates, so
any of your purchases you make, it doesn't cost anything extra, but if you want to support us through your normal purchases, if you use our link in our descriptions on our sites, then that will be a huge help to us, and we would really appreciate if you consider it.
Yeah. So if you're already shopping for gear, help us out, and help us make this even a better podcast. Throw some money our way. We don't mind. We don't mind at all.
But whether it's an email or if you do purchase through our link, we just appreciate the support.
We really do. So thank you so much for listening and tuning in. And today we're going to be talking about
group rides
versus solo rides.
Yeah.
So we've done our fair share of both big and small group rides. But before we jump into our main topic, we just have a little bit of news that Mitch found within 5 seconds before starting this, because we are unprepared this week.
We are not. To be fair, I found this morning, and then I just got busy. So,
okay, fine.
But no,
did better than me.
Yeah. But this year, September 28th, BMW will be announcing, or I guess unveiling their the 2024 R1300 GS. I don't know too much about the BMW bikes, like off the top of my head, but this is more their street-oriented GS. Is that right? Or is it even a GS?
Yes,
because it is a GS model.
Yes and no. So the GS comes in a couple of variants. There's the I don't remember exactly what their names are, but there is the road-going variant with cast wheels, 19 in the front, 20 or 17 or 18 in the back, and then they usually have an off-road variant. And I think a lot of times it's called like I can't.
Oh, so this one is still technically an adventure bike then?
Yeah.
Okay, because it has
all the GSs are going to be adventure bikes.
Oh, okay.
It's just not all of them. One of their trims comes with cast wheels. The other one comes with spoked wheels, and that's like the more enduro, like off-road oriented one. And then they also have the GS adventure trims, which come with the extended fuel tank and a few more extra features.
Yeah.
But the GS last was updated in 2019, I believe, or 2018. So
we're about there.
We're about there in the 5-year mark.
Touch up,
And
I was just going to throw so the September 28th is a substantial date for BMW, because this year will be the 100th anniversary that they unveiled their first motorcycle, the model R32, I think it was. Yeah, the R32.
And that was about, 100 years ago now?
Yeah, this will be their... bump the mic, there we go. Yeah, this will be the 100-year anniversary of their first motorcycle being released. So,
which is pretty crazy that... Like, BMW is a really old company. And they've been building, cars for probably just as long. And, they built some other things for
the not-so-favorable people.
For not-so-favorable people before, but... so did a lot of Japanese manufacturers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so.
And probably a lot of American manufacturers too.
Mitsubishi, and
probably all manufacturers have some kind of dark side in the story. But anyways,
but this bike with the updates, they're what's the word? They're anticipating that it's going to make some changes to compete more with the new Harley Davidson. I'm sure they've considered some of those features in the Tiger 1200
and probably the Multistrada
and the
Multistrada.
The Multistrada is probably there's a lot of features to go after there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of information though.
There's really not a ton in it, but they are currently looking to, or they're guessing that it's going to have more suspension control. There's going to be more seat height adjustments. Something that you can make you don't have to stop and fix the bike. You can just adjust it from there. So that's just going to be some of the things that they're mostly anticipating from those. So if you're in the market to spend like a lot of money and you have, a dentist's income, then, this could be the year for a BMW for you.
And the GSs are pretty.
Sorry, yes. And I forgot, and I just came past it on here too. So with this Model 2, this is actually pretty big. So the new Boxer engine for this bike, it's actually going to be fully liquid cooled.
Yes, I have
first
heard about
time.
That. Yeah. So before that, they have all been kind of a mix between air and liquid cooled, and this time I think they're fully closing it up.
Yeah,
which is kind of a big deal. And also, I remember, I don't know if I didn't read this article, but I remember reading a previous article that it's going to come in like a few more variants than the current models. So kind of expect maybe something more high performance, off-road oriented, and something kind of like touring oriented, I'm assuming, if that's what they go with. But this is my own personal prediction, and this is just going based off some of the current adventure bikes on the market. I wanted to bet that they might add something like the ride height adjustable suspension, so when you like stop the bike, it kind of lowers itself, so it's easier to put your feet down on the ground, because the Harley does it, the Ducati does it. I don't think the Triumph does it. I can't remember if it does that automatically or not. I know it has electronic suspension, but I don't know if it lowers itself when it comes to a stop. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think it does.
I don't want to say yes or no without knowing. So,
but I know the Ducati, I know the Harley Davidson does it. I think one of the other big things that BMW might improve on is the service intervals, because I don't think they're super long on the GS. I think they might be about the same as my Tiger, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But if they can match like Ducati's 30,000 mile valve checks, or do something like Harley Davidson does, where they have like hydraulic valves or something that don't need adjustment at all,
right,
the lifetime of the bike. So that'd be pretty impressive, especially for a touring bike.
Yeah, and that's just, I mean, man, I feel like you're just like, with the GSs, I feel like at this point you're just like picking up specks of lint off of it, because it's just like, because what we rode one of the GSs like in 2020.
Yeah, 2020.
So it's been a while, but I mean, dude, riding that thing, it was like, that was nice.
That was a very very good bike. If you've never, and it's a super expensive bike, and for those of you listening, like, it's not the most accessible bike, but if you have a chance to ride one, just as a demo, do it, because it will forever change
it's an
how you
experience.
feel about certain motorcycles, because despite it being like this big lumbering hulk of a bike, it is surprisingly nimble, even at slower speeds. Once you get it going, that weight disappears immediately, and just the whole thing, the sheer mass of it, and how comfortable it is, and how it has so many features that function like super well. It's a pretty well-built machine.
Well, like the only bikes I had ridden before then had been a Rebel 300 and a Rebel 500, and I got on that bike, so I was for sure like, oh, this is huge, this is scary, it's heavy, and you just get going, man.
Yep. And how comfortable was that seat?
I know, that was nice.
That was probably the best seat I've ever sat on a motorcycle. Heated seat, heated grips.
That was so cool.
And I really like BMW's TFT, and I think they have one of the best layouts. I'll probably put them like BMW and then Ducati on the layout, because you know how I feel about the Triumph ones
on their screen.
Or at least on my bike, because the 1200 has a different one. But so hopefully they keep the TFT going. If they were awesome, they would put Apple CarPlay on it. Wireless Apple CarPlay. All manufacturers. If you have a giant TFT on your bike, manufacturers should just automatically have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay.
Well, if you're going to be charging that much too.
Yeah.
So.
To me, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
To me, it just makes sense. Let the people that already know how to make software make the software for you.
Yeah.
And then have yours on the side.
So there's going to be some quality of life changes from this model, from the previous models to this one. And again, it's probably more just to like offer some features that are comparable to the competition.
Yeah.
And
but it's a pretty tight market.
It is. Big. I mean, it's definitely outside our prices. So that's
especially when you got like even the Harley Davidson entering the market.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago with the Pan America, which from what I've heard is a pretty good bike to ride, and it does look very comfortable and stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of the looks of it. It's a little too square for me, but looks
a long time ago
so.
we talked about that, and I said, like, man, that bike looks like the vacuum from like the Little Toaster Adventure movie. I just can't get over the front of it. But
it's just so square. But from what I've heard, like, it rides very well.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good bike to ride. So
I hear it's a nice engine too, with those like
it does sound good,
and the self-adjusting valves and everything.
It's still a V twin, so they're kind of still keeping up with that Harley heritage.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that's kind of our news update for
Yeah.
what's coming out. So we're both looking forward to seeing BMW unveil the next iteration of their GS, because it's a worldwide, well-known bike, and these bikes take people literally around the world.
It's accomplished, that's for sure.
Yeah, it has a strong pedigree, and it's kind of crazy how their boxer engine has kind of kept a very similar formula for basically 100 years now.
Oh yeah,
it just added new iterations of like new tech and things like that into it, but overall it's still like the same boxer engine.
well,
with a shaft
it was a
drive.
pretty cool like bit of history too. Like it's like BMW started producing that boxer engine, and like World War II and all like the bad relationships happened there. So Russia actually stole that design and made their own boxer engine, which the Ural uses.
Yep.
So it's so I mean that engine format has been around for a long time. It's well tested and
Shaft driven,
which
is very nice.
Yeah, I hear it's nice until you actually have to like deal with something with the shaft.
Yeah, if something happens to it, but you don't have to do chain like maintenance on it like you do with the chain, which is also nice. But anyways, so that's our news.
A little light on the news this
little
episode,
light, but it's no problem.
Oh wait, no, there's the I guess we don't have any information about it, but I guess it's just worth mentioning is the Triumph engine for their dirt bike.
Right. Triumph did, if you watch a couple of episodes, or our last episode, The History of Motocross, we talked about how Triumph is slowly unveiling a motocross bike. So this week they announced the engine for it, but to be honest, it was kind of a lame announcement because it just showed some very vague pictures and shots of the engine, but no specs were covered, nothing like that. So I was like,
it was a hype. It was a hype piece,
definitely a hype piece.
But we'll keep you updated as soon as information's. We'll relay more information as we learn it. So.
Yep, exactly. But let's jump into our main topic, which once again is group rides versus solo rides.
Yeah.
And you want to start us off?
Well, I mean, it's. I think before you go, like we talk about pros and cons of anything, like solo versus a group is like the number one thing that I personally haven't experienced, but I know people who have, is if you're gonna get into a group ride, like make sure it's a good group.
That's probably the biggest piece of advice.
Like if you're more safety conscious and you want to, not be a hooligan, make sure you find people who have your riding style in terms of like how fast they go, what kind of behaviors they have on the road, that they also know how to ride in a group.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, I mean, that's why we're here.
That's what we're going to talk about.
So I would say first and foremost, that's the biggest thing is like, kind of vet your groups a little bit.
Yeah. Find a good group. Find a group that is what sort of matches, or at least can match your riding ability and doesn't push you to do something unsafe or unwilling. And even if you're in the group, still ride your own ride. Like you're responsible for your own safety. You're responsible for your motorcycle and yourself. And if someone's doing something crazy or, breaking a few laws or carving the corners and things like that, don't feel like you have to do the same thing. And if the group pushes you to do the same thing, it's not the right group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's like where I would first preface that as the first thing. But I mean, I started riding solo around my neighborhood. I've mentioned it in previous episodes, like the first like group ride I did, it was just with some random strangers I met at a coffee shop. They offered to have a little ride and we went up Little Cottonwood Canyon, and I was nervous, but they were great. They went my pace. At times I was either in the middle of the group or I was in the front of the group. So like the new inexperienced riders, that's kind of like a good place to have them. Because if they're at the back and you guys, if you're a little more experienced or, you're more comfortable with it, I guess, like you might be going faster, even though you don't think it's fast, it could be faster for a new rider.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's, so it's just important that for your spacing as a new rider. But I do think some solo riding is helpful.
To at least know how to properly ride the motorcycle and handle it and stuff.
And understand like, riding formation and and all that stuff. And I guess we can get into that too. But that's just been my take on it. So you can also make some awesome friends in groups.
Oh, 100%. I've made so many good friends because I have a motorcycle. That's the whole reason we're doing this podcast is because we both started hanging out because we had motorcycles.
Yeah.
And you introduced me to more people and stuff because
I'm in Salt
you know
Lake
more
and-
people in Salt Lake
Yeah.
than I do, a little further north. And yeah, both of us have been on plenty of group rides, and it's definitely a different experience. And depending on the size of the group, it can vary of how calm or how, a little white knuckly the experience can be. But
Yeah.
I think my first group ride was it was with you, and it was
Okay.
I want to say it
I
was.
did not know that.
I'm trying to remember when it was, but I think it was sometime. I think it was when I got my Tiger, so it was a while before. Like,
Did you not come when you had your Honda?
I don't think I ever showed up for any of the rides when I had my Honda.
Oh.
Because I hated riding it to work because it was such a bitch to be on the freeway with.
Yeah.
I don't think it was until I got my Tiger that I came on like a full on group ride. If I can't remember for sure though, but I think it was not until I got my Tiger.
Yeah.
So it was like 2 years before I even rode like a full, like a decent sized group, other than just like me and you taking rides.
Right. Yeah. And that actually that brings up a good point. Is like one nice thing with a good group that you can get is more experienced riders, they can also like kind of correct you on bad habits that you've developed. Especially if you're new or even if you're not new, you'd be like, you can be like, hey, I noticed this, or going from there.
Yeah.
So you guys can feed off of each other. Again, you make great friends. So.
Make very good friends.
But yeah, in terms of like riding though, like when I say it's important to kind of understand some formation, and it's good to have until you're pretty close with the people that if you've ridden a few times, you've developed those group behaviors.
Yeah.
To go over like riding formation, ride staggered, don't be like directly behind somebody.
Yeah. Don't be right next to someone either.
Yeah, and the reason you don't want to be next to somebody is if they have an obstacle coming up on the road and you're next to them, you're blocking off their ability to avoid that obstacle, and same with you.
Yeah.
So it's good to ride staggered and give everybody like a good cushion.
Yeah. A good bit of space.
Yeah, and one thing I struggle with still, and whenever I lead a group, I'm never conscious of stoplights. I mean, I stop and I pay attention to stoplights, but then I always make the mistake of like, I'll go past like that's like a stale green, without realizing it's like, oh, that's probably going to change soon, and the group gets split up.
Yeah. So, and sometimes groups split up, and that's happens, and that's okay. You just either pull over and wait for them, or if they know the route, then you just catch up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other big thing is generally when we go on a group ride, we have kind of a route in place, or at least like a final destination. So we know like, hey, we're riding from point A to point B. And if someone splits up, they kind of know like, okay, well, I'll just keep heading towards point B, and eventually I'll catch up with them. But we try to kind of just coordinate which route we take, just to avoid people like splitting up, or make sure that they're able to catch up if we get separated by a little bit of distance. Yeah,
so I mean that's just like going to be some of the things you want to go over too. I remember one time we had, I think it was before you started showing up, or were you ever there for like the really hectic day we had for a group ride? Like randomly, like 20 people showed up.
No, I did not.
We were not ready for this massive group, and like, we're trying to make a turn on State Street, a really busy street here in Salt Lake, and we're trying to make a left turn so we can go on our ride. But like the group was so big, and we actually had people just like, we didn't talk about this, we didn't establish this is what we're going to do, but we had people like ride out of the group and block traffic so the group could stay together.
Oh,
and we're like,
that's a good way to make drivers hate you.
Yeah. So we're just like, okay,
and I feel like it's one of those things where motorcycles already kind of get a bit of a rap, for being reckless or annoying or whatever. And I'm like, let's not try to like add to that.
Well, it's just dangerous too.
It is dangerous.
But anyway, like it was just like one of those weird one-off things. I mean, it was still a good ride, but it was all of us were just like, where did all these people come from? How did they find us? And then some of them were like, they did end up splitting off because we weren't going their speed. They wanted to go fast, which is, that's fine. You do you. Ride your own ride.
I'm not the fastest rider out there.
No, I don't really want to be. So no,
I just take my time. Maybe if I had a very street sport oriented bike, probably go a little bit faster than what I do on my Tiger, but that's a different story.
But what do you? That's just my putting in my 2 cents of like off top of my head. What do you think? Group versus solo.
Oh no, I do love group rides. I love the fact that I made so many great friends, so many connections from group rides. And one of my favorite things is when somebody in our little group brings in someone new that they've met through, like just last week when, or a couple of weeks ago when we did short ride on a Friday just up one of the canyons and back. Our good friend Dave, he invited a guy that he sold his bike to come join the group, and yeah, we all just had a great time. Had some beers afterwards, and it was great. And that's probably one of my favorite aspects of group rides is like it's basically just the friends you make along the way.
Yeah,
and
don't drink and ride either.
Don't drink and ride. No, we did. Yeah, I did say we had a beer, but it was after the ride. It was after the ride, and not only was it after the ride, but
we were there
none of us were
drunk
or buzzed or tipsy or anything like that.
Like one beer or something like that.
One or two beers.
And we were there for a while.
We were there for like a couple hours tops. So if you're planning on drinking after a ride, even if it's something as light as a beer, just make sure that you're well aware of your intoxication level.
Yeah.
And keep it and make sure you wait it out. Give it plenty of time to kind of like.
And the law is the same.
Yeah.
Alcohol in your system it's just not a good idea.
No, and especially on the motorcycle because it slows down your reaction time. Yeah, it makes you less aware of what's going on around you. So it causes a lot more accidents. So please be very careful when you're planning on having a drink while on the ride.
Unrelated to the group ride stuff. Like I rode my bike to a friend's house. He was having a little get together. And I got I had a little too many that night, and I was just he just let me crash on his couch, and then in the morning I rode home.
Yep, so that's the better way to do it.
Yeah,
it's safer for you and everyone else. You don't want to ruin someone else's life or your own bike.
Yeah,
crashing your bike and hurting yourself.
Yeah, I guess that could be a good segue into like group etiquette, like besides riding. Positions.
Yeah.
Show up with a full tank of gas.
Show up with a full tank of
gas.
Things
happen, I've been guilty of it, and it's like, I gotta grab gas.
Yeah,
and if you forget, but typically it's just it's good group manners. Yeah. You show up with a full tank of gas, so people don't have to like wait for you.
And I think it depends also on the type of group ride. If it's something you had planned weeks in advance, okay, we're gonna ride. This is gonna be a long ride. This can be like a few hours from point A to like a whole different town, point B. Like kind of be prepared, and if you show up before the group, take that time to prep your gear, get some gas, so people aren't waiting for you afterwards.
Yeah.
But if it's like a quick little jaunt, like just an after work thing, it's like, oh, anyone's free? Look, want to go on a quick ride? I think you're probably okay if you don't have gas then.
Yeah.
But it just kind of depends on the length and the amount of planning for the ride. Like if you knew it's coming up well in advance, then I personally always like to make sure I get gas.
Yeah,
when I can.
Yeah, at least when I plan rides, like I try to keep like the kickstand up time like pretty lenient, just like traffic or whichever. Just give people like maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, past. And most of the time we're not in a hurry. We're just there to have a good time and hang out with friends. And it's not like it's not like an official sanctioned ride or anything like that. We're just like, hey, this one we're planning on leaving. If anybody wants to come, feel free to do so, but we're going to be leaving around that time. And our group's usually pretty good about letting us know.
Honestly, we're pretty our group's amazing.
Yeah.
So
everyone's pretty biased. Good at letting each other know if someone's running behind, or it's like, oh, I can't make it to start time, but maybe I can meet up with you guys at like a certain point of the ride.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're pretty biased, but you find that good group of people that you're with and
stick with them.
Yeah, stick with them. So, even like we'll even like have events. Like when we're not. This is outside of motorcycles. We'll have events.
Yeah, like in the winter. Yeah, our riding season gets cut off at one point here in Utah, and we'll try to get together and just go grab food or something, or just hang out and just catch up because they're all really good people.
Yep.
And but yeah, that's my favorite thing about group rides. But also it is fun to kind of like see all these different kinds of bikes that show up and have your friends riding them and stuff. Not only can you like kind of watch them ride, they can watch you stop, you take photos, hang out, chat, have good company. It's literally a group experience, and
it's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't mind riding in the group. There's definitely a lot of times where I do feel like I like riding solo maybe a little bit more because I like to stop and take lots of pictures, fly my drone.
Yeah,
and I always feel a little bit weird doing that in the group because I don't, even though everyone usually says like, oh yeah, take your time, it's fine.
You're good.
I'm still like conscious about it. I'm just like, okay, I still don't want to make them wait too long and stuff. Versus when I'm by myself and I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop on this hill here and take some pictures of my bike.
Yeah.
And if I'm by myself, I can just take as long as I want because my time is mine and no one else's. And you know, sometimes if I want to explore a specific place or, you know, ride to a specific route and either no one's available or plans are just showing up together, I'm going to go by myself because, you know, I still want to ride my bike and not just have it sit around because no one wants to come on the ride with me.
Right. Yeah. No, it's, oh, I had something with that and I just left my brain. But no, it was,
I think there's definitely like a little benefit to both, and some people prefer one or the other.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah, I mean, that's what it was. Like, yeah, no, I agree. There's days like where I'd rather like ride alone or, you know, just me and the bike.
Yeah. Or you just decide to go on a whim and you're like,
yeah,
oh, I'm kind of bored today and it's been a minute since I've ridden my bike and
it's finally not
the weather is good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on a ride somewhere. And, you know, you're not going to, I mean, sometimes you can, but a lot of times it's, you know, you just don't feel like trying to gather a bunch of people together or something like that. Yeah,
no, it's, yeah, no, exactly that. But like, you know, with those like solo ride though, you know, if you are just gonna, I'm gonna go on a ride and disappear somewhere, like, even if you're not riding with your group, you can tell them like, hey, this is where I'm gonna be riding today.
Yeah,
because you know, riding solo, something happens, you know.
Yeah, and I think safety is. I mean, we always pro safety here, very much so. And if you are riding solo, it's definitely something you have to be more considerate, or
just let somebody know where you're going.
Yeah, let somebody know where we're going. We all have phones nowadays. Personally, what I do is me and my parents, we have our locations all shared on our
your family plan
on our phones, like just through Google Maps and stuff. So if I'm going on a ride, and if I don't check in for a while or something happens to me, my dad can see like at least my last location or where I was, things like that. If you're planning on going on a longer adventure or somewhere where you have no cell service, they do sell like those Garmin InReach or the spot locators, and pretty much any like world traveler, like any motorcyclist traveling around the world, any like backpacker, hiker and stuff, you most likely have seen the little orange thing on like hanging on their pack somewhere. And I think those things are important because, you know, if you have an accident, if something happens, if you break a leg or your bike breaks down and you have no cell service, it can be depends on where you are, it can be a long time before you reach cell service or someone finds you. So I think it's important to really take those precautions and keep those things on you, or at least like make sure somebody knows where you are and what time you're planning on being back, so they can check in on you. Yeah, no, and like when we did like when we do our Bear Lake rides like we did last year, we still need to do that this year too. You know, it's been so hot. It's been absolutely hot in Utah.
I don't think we're gonna be able to do it till like maybe mid or late September. Probably not until I get back.
At least like I could see like mid-September and stuff. Once it drops down to like the 80s and 70s, I think we'll be okay. Because it's up in the mountains. But
we did a group ride last year. Starting in, well, I guess we met in Pineview up in close to Ogden. Yeah, for those of you that are not in Utah, this is just like 40 minutes north of Salt Lake. We took this like wonderful, beautiful back road. There was like what, 4 of us? It was 4 of us. You know, we get riding and you know, it was just nice. I wish comm systems, and we've talked about those being the bane of our existence for groups, but I wish we could pair all our comm systems together. But even then, just riding in the group, seeing your buddies, you're all having a good time together. And then once you stop, you can be like, oh, did you see that? Or did you see, you know, like, and I think I remember on that ride, I think we stopped a couple of times because I think me and I think it was Eric, we had to both like put on our windproof front liners and stuff because it got way cooler than we thought it was going to be. This was like, it was still September, I think. It was late September, so the leaves are already starting to churn. Yeah, but we got that weird cold front. And and it was like 50 degrees up in the mountains. I was like, oh, hold on, guys. I need to stop here for a second because it's cold. I'm getting a little chilly and I need my little windproof liner in. I remember being so cold because we stopped in Bear Lake to eat too.
Yeah.
But all of us, I think we were all pretty cold, and like even sitting down inside the building, we ate, and finally we're like, oh, we're ready.
It's so much better. Yeah. What was the longest solo ride you've done, like by yourself?
Ooh, solo. I think I went out to Eureka by myself once or twice. I think that's
Where's
probably
that?
Oh no, the longest one I did. No, I take that back. That's where that gas station is.
Oh, okay. Right.
And for those who don't know, there's this like iconic abandoned gas station out in this little
Utah
middle
Sinclair.
of nowhere.
Google it.
Yeah, Google it. Utah Sinclair, Eureka. But no, I actually take that back. I actually rode to Logan, my hometown, by myself. And that was it's about a 2-hour drive
From here. Okay.
Yeah, ride, I guess I should say. But yeah, I mean, basically, I was meeting some friends there, so people knew I was expected, and and same thing when I was heading home, from there. But it was really nice. It was like a good, like, just time to be in my own head, but focused on something.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
It's like motorcycles, like almost like meditating, but like you're not zoned out. You're very
active. You're very active about it.
But it's cathartic, the right word?
Yeah, it is. It kind of is.
Yeah.
It really is.
So it is nice having like that space and everything from there.
Yeah.
And,
the longest solo ride I did was back on my Honda. I don't think I've done a solo ride as long since, but I basically did a full loop up to Bear Lake, which is about like 2 hours from where I live, 2.5 hours. But then I continued past that into Idaho, and I forget what the town is. I think it's Montpelier, Idaho. So it's like right there, like not right across the border. It's a pretty good bit into the border. And then I cut across to Lava Hot Springs, and I rode down on the freeway back. And that was actually like the same week that I first got my Cardo, my comms, so I could actually like listen to music.
Yeah,
which makes a world of difference if you're riding by yourself. Being able to like listen to some music, or even like take a phone call and stuff while riding, it helps out a ton.
Yeah,
and it helps like kind of block the wind a little bit more. Wear earplugs. It blocks the wind a bit more, and kind of like, so you have music going, you're just kind of vibing and driving, like riding along the way. But doing that ride on a CB500 was it was kind of brutal.
Yeah,
because especially going back on the freeway, I was just, that thing was ringed out full, like trying to...
When we did our first ride together to Bear Lake, I was on that Rebel, and I love the bike, but man, it's rough for
it's rough, especially once you hit higher speeds.
For a long distance one. It's
I do remember on your Rebel too, like your rear suspension had such short travel. And we rode up to this like cave that's near there on this twisty road, and it's kind of one of those roads that has a lot of random bumps around it. And I remember every few seconds I would just hear you like, ow, ow.
My tailbone was a little sore for a day or two after, but see, that's the nice thing with riding in a group or with a friend too, is like, no one could have witnessed that, and that was pretty miserable and funny. So.
Yeah. And or you have good stories to tell.
Have you put the sheep? Have you?
No.
See, no one would have seen that except for your GoPro.
But did we talk about that on the podcast?
I don't know if we have or not. I think we mentioned.
I almost hit a sheep. Yeah, I think we did mention.
You did hit a sheep.
Yeah, I hit a sheep with my boot.
Yeah,
it missed the bike, and I missed most of the sheep. My boot was the only.
You kicked the living shit out of that sheep at
I did
50 miles an hour.
I really hope it's okay.
It got up. It's fine.
Yeah,
I saw it.
Sheep are resilient.
Yeah,
and it ran out right in front of me. So I did my best to avoid it. And thankfully, I did, because if I was a second too slow, or the sheep was a second too fast, then I would have ran right into it.
Maybe if we're lucky, Gleb will put that video up on the Instagram threads for the podcast.
Yep. And we wouldn't be able to capture that.
Yeah. See, I was an eyewitness to that.
Yeah. And when we do group rides, we always stop and take pictures and just hang out. And it's one of the funniest things, and one of the things I love a lot is we generally ride with the same group of people. Like we've all seen their bikes. They all had the same bikes for a while now. I mean, a couple of them might get like a new one here and there, but we usually see what they look like. But I love it because every time we still stop after a group ride, we always walking around checking out each other's bikes. Like it's the first time seeing them.
Yeah, just
I've seen your bike a million times, and I'm still like, man, that's such a nice looking bike.
Right. Well, it's just like, and our group is like, we started out as like a Triumph group, but then we're like, you know, we meet some really cool people who don't have Triumphs, and like we're just like, you know what, just if they're good people, let them in.
Yeah.
Like,
now it's not some
we're not going to gatekeep.
motorcycle group.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, yeah. Like, one nice thing too with this, like meeting like a group like ours is, you know, like you get some more insight into the different types of bikes. Like, you know, with we had, you know, when Carl was with us, or when and with Emerson Thruxton, it's just like, you know, like you get to pick their brain a little bit about the bikes.
Yeah.
You know,
because theirs are a little bit more customized. They've done some work to them and things like that.
Yeah, or it's just
cool.
like, oh, you look, oh, that's a nice bike. That'd be really cool, and they tell you like what they like, what they don't like about it.
Yeah, and I do love that. And it's kind of funny because in our group we have like basically the whole Triumph, not the whole lineup, but basically every like frame that they have.
Oh,
we have the Tiger, we have your Scrambler, we have several Bonnies.
Yeah,
we have the Street Triple,
the Thruxton. Yeah,
the Thruxton. Now we have the Street Triple, so we have their full like, you know, their adventure frame, their Bonnie frame, and their street frames. Maybe one day our entire group will just have the full Triumph lineup.
I know, right? We need someone with a bobber.
Yeah, we need someone with a bobber. We need someone with a T120,
a
Rocket 3, and the big Tiger.
Oh yeah,
the 1200. No, but I feel like this episode's kind of all over the place, but that's okay.
No, I mean, we're talking about the group rides and stuff. You know, like this one was going to be kind of more relaxed anyway, just not so structured, I guess.
I guess one thing we can mention and talk about is how would you go? Do you have any advice for people that are wanting to plan a group ride? Like they know some motorcyclists, maybe they haven't really like done the group ride before. Maybe they want to involve a bigger group.
Yeah. If you're looking to host like a group ride or something, first of all, know where you're going to go, figure out a good route. I would, in my experience, after having done it a little bit, try and find a route with little to no stoplights. That'll make things less complicated, for sure. Weather, check the weather.
Check the weather.
Yeah, we've had a few times where we've been caught in some rain. So.
That's true.
Boy, yeah. I'd say those are the big things. Like, know where you want to go, figure out how you're going to get there, and like, yeah, you know, make sure you're looking out for routes and traffic and road conditions and stoplights.
Yeah,
maybe I already said that, but you know,
I think, and this like doesn't involve the riding itself, but generally we get food. Right? I like to also like pick out the places. Like, oh, hey, maybe we can start here at this coffee shop, and then here at this like bar or restaurant.
And that's typically we'll either meet at like a park or we'll have a meeting point with a set time. You know, we'll say like show up around this time, kickstands up at this time, so people just kind of know, and then say like, well, this is where we're gonna go. Screenshots of a Google map, just like this is a route we're taking. You know, and sometimes if people, it's happened in our group too. It's like, oh, actually, there's construction here, or there's something going on. Yeah,
generally, like, we'll make you aware of if there's like, oh, let's not do that road because there's some stuff going on there.
Yeah, so those are what I would say. But what about you?
Pretty much the same thing. I haven't done like too many planned rides. I think the Bear Lake ride last year, I think I kind of planned that one and stuff, and I just told people where to meet up and then the route, and I think I was kind of the group lead on that. And usually I feel like if it's someone that planned the ride, then they kind of end up leading the group. But if you trust someone else to lead more and they know where you're going, then by all means, like I think that's fine too.
Do you have like a least favorite position in a group?
No, not necessarily. I'm kind of okay being like all over the place. I don't always like being the first one.
Yeah.
And being the leader, but for some reason I always kind of end up there anyways. But no, for the most part, I think I'm pretty much good wherever.
Yeah. See, I don't really like to lead. I just don't. Because we say it all the time, ride your own ride. But then like if I'm leading, it's like, oh, is everyone with us? I'm checking my mirrors.
Yeah.
Or like, with the whole light thing.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, it's just kind of like, it's not my favorite. I can do it. I will do it, but it's not my preferred. I like to be in the back, just kind of keep an eye on everything. And
that's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Near the back or like back middle.
Yeah.
So.
And I think if you do have like newer riders in the group and stuff, it's good to keep them either up front or between the groups, so you kind of make sure they don't fall behind, but also so they know where to go.
And I wouldn't put like a new rider in the lead, but
no,
like,
not in the lead. No,
put them up like near the front or in the middle where they're But again, you are staggered, so you got a rider here, a rider here. Sorry, audio listeners.
Yeah,
so you're not right next to them. You're trailing a bit behind them with some space cushion, so if they have to swerve, you can still slow down.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so
and the bigger the ride, the more complicated it gets, because we've done like the DGR earlier this year. That was the biggest group ride I've ever been on, and it was a little intimidating being around so many different motorcyclists, and that
probably
one,
people you don't know.
Yeah, and that one there was no way you could do staggered on a ride that big, because there's like over 100 people on that.
Yeah, it's just a train of motorcycles. It's a motorcade.
It basically. Yeah. So you're kind of just trying to ride all in the same motion, but that one if it's a group ride like that, if you're doing a ride like 100 people or more, you have to be hyper aware of everyone around you and what's going on, and make sure that you're not like too close, too far. Make sure you're not stopping too close to the bike in front of you.
And so for next year, I've done enough rides now that I feel comfortable like volunteering. I forget what the positions are called, but I think like we're getting back to the DGR, but I think with like relating to group sizes too, like with this last year's event, even the one before then, it was huge. So I think it's getting to the point like we're going to have to involve some sort of traffic control.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
not ourselves, like talk to city officials, have an event planned.
Yeah. I think for the amount of people we had this year, I think I would have definitely felt more comfortable if we didn't have to like worry too much about like red lights and things like that, because the group did end up kind of like all over the place.
Yeah.
And if there was at least like
that's just going to happen with a large group. So like someone invites you to a ride, and this is going to go back to like kind of vet your ride a little bit. It's like if see how many people are going to go. Like, is it a big major event? Like, what kind of riding is going to be done there? I think DGR is probably like one of the only events where I'll go to if it's going to be like hundreds of people.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I'm more on the side of where I prefer like our small little group of like 10 or less people, or even like 6 max is usually the amount that shows up. And, because we all know each other. We all understand each other. And
I think, I would guess we're maybe in the minority there, because you do have like a lot of big groups that go out and do stuff.
Yeah. We have plenty of like local groups. Like we have the local Triumph group that they do like long weekend rides, the Ducati Club, even Eurosports Utah, they plan their annual like spring and fall rides and stuff where
see something like that I'd probably be okay with,
where it's like more officially sanctioned and organized versus just like a loose ragtag group of people be like, let's all get together and have a ride.
It's like if 2 dudes with a podcast just like wanted to host a ride or something. We don't have any like poll or say in that, so it's like it's actually like an organized thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much it. And when it comes to solo rides, just to kind of summarize, let people know where you're going. Still ride your own ride, but also solo rides can be super relaxing. And I'm one of those people where I don't always care to wait for someone to like either invite me or agree to go do something with me. And this is not just for motorcycling. This is like hiking, traveling, snowboarding, anything like that. Is I'll mention to people, oh yeah, I went on a hike by myself, and they're like, you went by yourself? Like, isn't that scary? I'm like, no, like it's not scary. I know the area pretty well.
Yeah.
First of all, and I feel like I'm fairly cautious while I'm hiking and riding a motorcycle.
Well, alone time is nice. I like.
Yeah, alone time is good, but also like I feel like if you constantly wait for someone to come with you to do things, you'll do significantly less things because people have their own schedules, they have their own lives, and sometimes they're not always available. And I'm not a person that sits at home by myself for too long without getting too antsy. So I'm like, I want to go do this thing, and I'm just gonna go do it.
Yeah, no, that's how I kind of am with that too most of the time. But like that. My thoughts keep slipping on me today. And it's one of those days, man.
Yeah.
No, I would.
It's the heat.
It's the heat. Yeah. So, I'm just getting heated, not being able to ride though. That's the problem. So,
yeah.
But no, if you are a new rider and you have a friend who rides, you know, if you trust them to kind of show you a few things and they can keep an eye on you a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I think riding with a friend or just two people is excellent way to go, because it's a little less coordination. It's a little less like trying to figure things out. It's more like, hey, you want to go on the ride? Yeah, sure. Well, and if it's someone you know well, then they kind of understand, like, okay, this person likes to take frequent breaks, or this person, me, likes to take lots of pictures and takes freaking long amount of time.
Yeah.
Things like that. But
yeah, but basically I was gonna go with that too. Is like working your way into a group is a nice thing to do. Like start with a friend, and that way you can become more conscious of like group of like rider spacing.
Group etiquette.
You know, like, or if you have to swerve like that, you know, if we're riding together that I'm not, and you have to like swerve or something, that I'm not right up on you, and you know,
so we have plenty of space, versa. Give each other plenty of space, and
so
stuff.
It takes like that. You have to have that awareness for yourself, you know, as the rider, but then also like you also have to have like a basic level of trust for the other people in your group ride.
That's true.
So
that's very true.
So that's why it's good to clarify all that safety stuff beforehand.
I agree.
Again, like we've been riding with the same people for so long.
Yeah, we kind of just all understand each other. We just kind of. I think everyone in the group just assumes I'm going to end up taking a selfie of everyone.
Yeah.
At the end of the ride, or somewhere during the ride and stuff.
Yeah. No, but it can really. When we're saying you know, solo versus group, like I think group for me always wins, because it's always not always, but what's been really nice for me is that, like, you know, I'm going to be moving soon.
Yeah.
And I had looked at moving out of the valley and everything like that, but by having this motorcycle group, like, this is my community now. You know, it's like I don't want to leave that. You know, I don't want to be far away from it.
Yeah.
So you know, that's just part of motorcycling. That's why it's so cool. Is you get to meet people you probably would never meet.
Yeah.
Learn about their bikes, their experiences.
Share your experiences with them.
Yeah, just make some good connections and friendships. So.
One thing I will say, like, if you do have like a riding buddy, or maybe you're lucky enough to have a partner that rides, or significant other that rides and stuff, get comms.
Yeah,
it's so nice to be able to talk while riding, instead of just like, what are we doing? Throwing some hand signals out.
Yeah, comms. Like, again, we could probably talk about comms.
We should do a full episode on comms.
If you guys want to hear me complain for an hour about comms, then we can do that.
We can 100% do that. You know what? We're going to do that, because it's our podcast and we can do whatever the hell we want.
I'm thinking that we, like, in our group, we should institute like a Cardo only rule.
Cardo all the way, baby.
But wait till I have money to buy a Cardo. But like,
you're like, no, wait, me first, and then everyone else.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Yep. No, I agree. Like, it'd be nice if Cardo and Senna could just play nice together and just have a common like group or mesh network and stuff. So, because not everyone's gonna buy the same device. They all come in different price ranges. Some helmets come with one. Maybe there's a special deal.
My helmet was built specifically for one type of Senna.
Yeah, so. And it's just kind of ridiculous that these manufacturers haven't like just opened up their stuff to make it easier and maybe have some other features to make them.
So if you know any,
that's a whole different episode.
If you know any entrepreneurs, you know, there's
build electronics.
Yeah, I would say there's a good market out there for people that want a more streamlined, user-friendly comm system for motorcycle helmets.
Which then you also have to buy, and it'll be its own system, because the other two won't open up to a new system.
Yeah. Well, I think we should get royalties for the idea. I mean, it's like
we should patent it.
We should patent
it. Patent pending.
Yeah, I'll
TDT motorcycles. You heard it here first, folks.
I'll learn about electronics.
Okay, sounds good. You let me know how that goes while I'm on vacation.
Yeah. Yep, Gleb's gonna be gone for a little bit. Our schedule shouldn't be thrown off, though. I don't think.
No, it should be fine. I should be back in time for us to record the next episode, because I'm going to Ireland, y'all.
Yep.
And I'm very excited for it. And I'll take pictures of motorcycles that I see there.
You should rent a motorcycle.
I wish, but it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It is unfortunately very expensive, because I did look into that, and compared to renting a car or something, it's significantly more money.
Oh, I bet.
And way more of a hassle. So I'm like, unfortunately, I can't.
All right. Well,
maybe after I drop my car off, maybe I can borrow one for a day.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like ride share there or something.
Maybe.
You can try one out for a day.
Right.
But anyways, I think
that's all I really had.
That's pretty much all we talked about. So this is kind of a loose episode. This is kind of like a last minute planning, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully it gave you some decent idea about what it's like to ride in the group versus what it's like to ride solo. And people have their preferences. I enjoy both. I really enjoy my solo time, but I also love catching up with friends and riding in a group.
I enjoy my solo time, but like what I've gained by having a motorcycle community with these awesome people and friends now is that it's great. It's
so good.
It's enhanced my motorcycling experience.
A lot of it for me is not even about the motorcycles itself. No, it's about the people.
It's the people, yeah.
Because the real joy of motorcycling is the friends we make along the way.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for listening. Once again, if you are looking to buy motorcycle gear so you can stay safe on your group rides, be sure to use our Revzilla affiliate link, which is in the description of all of our episodes and our podcast description. So use that. We'll get a little bit of kickback, and it doesn't cost anything extra for you. It just helps us out, helps out the podcast. And once again, feel free to email us at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com for any topic suggestions, feedback, share your ride stories, show us pictures of your bike, and
please show us pictures of your bikes.
We love to see bikes.
Yeah.
So, or maybe if you just want to,
we can even start like putting those in.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah, feel free to email us or message us on social media. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.